Hey guys, welcome to another episode of the High Ticket Coaching and Consultant Strategy and Growth Show. So today I have our guest. She's a member of our community called Alexis Crawford. Hey, welcome, Alexis.
Hi, good morning.
Good morning. So tell us, Alexis, what is it that you do?
So I'm an Ayurvedic wellness counselor, and I also help family members of addicts and addicts in recovery by teaching them yoga.
hmm Awesome. So yoga, huh? How long How long have you been doing yoga?
I've been doing yoga for close to 10 years now.
Goodness. What got you interested in yoga?
Stress was a big way to bring me to yoga. I was very stressed out and needed to find an outlet to help myself.
hmm
And someone recommended yoga. And I started with hot yoga, and then I started getting into the spiritual aspects of yoga.
hmm Okay. And now you combine helping individuals with addictions heal through yoga.
Yes, exactly. So I help family members of addicts heal through yoga, and I help addicts in recovery heal through yoga as well.
hmm So why yoga?
Yoga helped me a lot. My mother passed away from addiction, and I went through a really rough patch due to it. And someone said to me, you really should get back into yoga because I'd fallen off the track a little bit.
hmm
And I found that it helped me, and I really think that it's going to help others. And I think movement is the best form of recovery.
hmm Okay. So what is it about yoga you think that causes? Is it the breath work? What do you think it is about yoga?
I think all of the elements combined, so the movement, the breath work helps heal the mind and the body.
hmm Awesome. And how did you make the connection then? How long? When did you start helping individuals who are struggling with addictions with yoga? How long have you been doing this?
It's only been a couple of years now, and I read this really amazing book called The Body Keeps the Score, and it's a different methods of treatment to help people who suffered from trauma. So I strongly believe that trauma is at the root cause of addiction, and the book helps you understand there are different ways to help people move through trauma, but the number one thing is it has to be movement based. So whether it's drama or eye movement therapy or different types of treatment, movement helps the body. And that really helped me understand why it's important.
hmm And how did you make the connect with? Yeah, how did you make the connect?
What do you mean? Sorry.
So with individuals struggling with addictions, right, and saying, "Well, I'm going to introduce yoga to help them." What made you?
Oh,
When did you have that first breakthrough?
yes, I met this really lovely woman. So I was trying to figure out how I could help people. And so I met this really lovely woman, Jenny Ravi Kumar Lane. And she started a foundation called Yoga for Families of Addiction.
hmm
So I joined her teacher training, and I was not yet a yoga teacher, which I thought was really funny, but I promised her I would be. And so I went to her training. I learned about the importance of being trauma informed, and then she actually invited me to work with her organization. So I've been working for with Yoga for Families of Addiction for a couple of years now.
hmm Awesome. And how's COVID-19? COVID-19 has it affected? Was your practice in person?
Yes, so it's been interesting. So Yoga for Families of Addiction is on pause right now, but I'm actually working through an amazing organization called the Phoenix. And the Phoenix is a free gym for addicts in recovery. The only thing you have to do is be 48 hours sober. And what they did is when COVID-19 happened, they just jumped on the bandwagon and made all of their classes virtual. So they have Zumba classes, CrossFit classes, meditation, and yoga. And I work with them, and I'm actually teaching a class at 11 o'clock this morning to people in recovery.
Okay, so you're doing a yoga class today.
Yes, I am. Yep.
Awesome. How often are you doing those classes?
I will be doing it every Saturday at 11 a.m.
Awesome. What's the duration? How long do they last?
It's about an hour. We start with an icebreaker so everybody feels a little bit comfortable getting to know each other. And then we do about 45 minutes of yoga, and we just make sure we connect with one another, which is super important.
hmm Awesome. I know. What's about? I think COVID-19, the restrictions are kind of getting a little bit less. What's the vision as soon as it's back to normal? Is it gonna go back into in person, or guys?
Yes,
Yeah.
yes. So there's spaces all over Massachusetts, and I work in the Lowell space. I volunteer in the Lowell space on Tuesday night, so hopefully we'll resume those classes. But Mass is taking a lot longer to open than any other state, so they're predicting the end of June. So I'll be
Mhm.
online teaching until then.
Yeah. What about how long does it take someone? So let's say someone who's suffering from addiction and doing yoga. Have you noticed any type of time frame as far as when it takes them to start seeing results, or is it based on a per person basis?
I think it's on a per person basis. It really depends on how much trauma they've been through, at what point in the recovery they are. So there are people who walk in who are at the very beginning stages of
Hmm.
recovery. There are people who walk in who've been long term recovering addicts. And to me, it's really just meeting them where they are.
Hmm. And are there different elements? Is it just yoga, or are there different elements where it's education, kind of like maybe a classroom sitting? How does that look?
So for my classes, it's really just yoga, but we do breath work, meditation. Those we check in with each other. For Phoenix, what they do is they have recovery meetings. They have meditation classes. They have a variety of different things. And what I love about Phoenix is it's a community. And we actually have a Facebook group where we chat with each other regularly just to check in, see how we're doing, and talk about the workouts we did for the day, just to really have that connection, because that's the biggest problem right now is we've lost that connection. And what we're trying to do is just make sure we're helping each other through this time.
Hmm. And based on what you're doing right now, do you feel like you're living out your purpose?
I do. I do. I love that question. I really do. I wish I could have helped my mother more, and I didn't, and I wasn't able to. And I think this is my way of giving back, because it's super important to me to help people through this difficult time in their lives.
Hmm. What about before you and this is what you do this full time, right?
No, I actually do this. I work full time. I'm in marketing,
Hmm.
and I do this on the side just to give back, because it's super important to me.
Yeah,
I do have a goal of one day doing this full time, but until I get there, it's gonna be what I do for right now.
yeah, yeah. What kind of marketing do you do?
I run digital marketing for a medical device company. We make ventilators, so it's
Uh-huh.
a good time for us right now.
Yeah, awesome. Love that. Love that. Awesome. And with your the vision that the company that you're working with right now for your clients, what's that vision that you have in terms of how you see the yoga, everything combined, affecting them in the future? What's that vision that you have for them?
It's just showing up, being there and helping them, making sure that people know that I'm there for them. And I think that's the most important thing I have right now, is just to be there for them.
Hmm. Do you feel that's a lot of a big thing with addicts? They don't have anyone who shows up for them.
Yes, I do. So there's a really good book. I'm trying to remember the name of it, but I think the most important thing that they talk about in the book is that um, what addicts suffer from is the loss of connection. And when people just drop them and leave them in their lives, they end up going back into addiction. And that's what's most important, is just being there for them.
Hmm. Okay. Now, I'm not. Are you pretty familiar with the whole topic of addiction? Are you pretty well versed on
Yes,
there? Yeah.
yes, yes.
Hmm. Now, with addiction, how does it with it, how does it? What's a recovery process look like? Is it replacing? Is it just getting rid of the addiction altogether, or is it replacing it with something else? How does that? What typically have you found works?
It really depends on what that person's been through. If someone's been through a lot of trauma, they could have turned to addiction because of their trauma. And so it's helping them deal with the trauma that's super important. It could be that they have just underlying addiction in their family. So they might have that trigger in their brain that wants them to have more and more and more, and figuring how to replace that with something more beneficial to them. So there are a variety of different ways that you can help an addict. I honestly feel that there's no easy button. There's no way to solve it right away. It's finding the right treatment for the right person, and that's what I love about Phoenix is they don't tout, the 12 steps. They don't tout different types of treatment. They actually say whatever treatment is good for any person is okay with the program, and that's what's nice is meeting people where they are.
Hmm. Awesome. So as I do these interviews, I'm always meeting some interesting people, and I always like to figure out like how did they get to where they are in their life, whether it was like planned or whether it just like happened. So with your life, based on where you are right now, is this something you like planned out, or was it did it just happen? And you like this is pretty cool. How did that work out? How do you find?
So my life is very interesting. I actually grew up in the Virgin Islands. So I grew up on an island that was 13 miles long, 3 miles wide, and your community was the most important thing to you. And if you didn't have a community, you didn't have anything. And I think that thread has existed throughout my life in these capacities. So moving to a college from a tiny island of 1,000 people, I had to find my community. Getting out of college, I had to find my new community. And so I think I'm in a point where I'm finding a new community that I want to be a part of. And addiction is where I want to help and give back. And right now, that's my important community.
Hmm. Awesome. Oh, you grew up in the Virgin Islands.
I did, yes, St. Thomas.
Yeah, St. Thomas, pretty cool. Um, how long was it like you grew up? How old were you when you were back there?
I was there till I was 18. So I was born and raised on the island.
What?
I lived there till I was 18.
Mm-hmm.
And then it's really random. So I looked at one college. I had a list of colleges, but I looked at one college and I just fell in love with it. And I said, I don't care what it is or how or why, I'm just going to go here.
Mm-hmm.
And it was the only school I applied to, early decision, and I got in, and that's how I got up here.
Yeah, yeah. And you talk the U.S., right?
Yes. So Bentley University in Waltham, Massachusetts.
Mm-hmm. Awesome, awesome. Yeah, I grew up in St. Lucia, same kind of story,
Oh,
but different paths, right? So I
yeah.
grew up in St. Lucia, lived there till I was 18 years old, and then 18 I moved to the U.S., did one semester in college. I'm like, college isn't really my thing. Joined the U.S. Marines, and next thing you know, I'm being shipped all around the world, right?
Oh, wow. That's awesome. And how did you like growing up in St. Lucia?
Oh, it was beautiful. It was awesome. Growing up, it was just one of those places where there was so much freedom and there's just paradise in a sense, right?
Hmm.
Whenever I tell someone I am from back there, they're like, "What are you doing here?" But to be to I really can't like today. I could be there, but I can't stay there, right? Because it's like such a small island. It's like, hey, after a couple of weeks, I'm like done. It's like, hey,
And it's too slow.
yeah, exactly, exactly. Yeah, awesome. So in essence, what about because you say you're a wellness counselor as well too? Did you end up is that what you went to school for?
No, so I went to school for business, but after college, when I started getting into yoga, I did a program, an Ayurvedic wellness program, and it's Ayurveda is really about balancing the mind and body through food, meditation, and yoga, and really finding the food that works for your body.
Hmm. Yeah. So how does that one work? Is it do you create meal plans as well too? How do you
Yes. So what you do is I work with people to help understand where they're out of balance. So it's based off the elements of the earth. So earth, air, fire, water, and space. And the idea is you give them a questionnaire to help them understand where they're at, where their balance lies. So where they should be in balance. And then you give them a questionnaire to is where they're out of balance. So you help them really understand where they are not and where they need to be through that questionnaire. And then you give them recommendations of what they should eat to bring them back into balance, what they should do from a yoga or chanting or mantra or meditation practice to help bring them back into balance.
hmm I love that. Now, what about you, right? So, are there any skills you've mastered? You say you've mastered that's gotten you to the level of success to where you are today?
I don't think I've mastered anything yet, to be honest with you.
Mm-hmm.
I really don't. I do feel that making connection is important to me, and I'm working really hard towards that, but I have not mastered anything.
Mm-hmm. Okay. So, the one you would say that the practice for you is just connection.
Connection. Yes, that's
Yeah.
super important to me. It's really hard for me right now being indoors and not being able to physically see people, but
Mm-hmm.
I'm spending a lot of time on social media making sure that I'm connecting with the right people and having those conversations.
Mm-hmm. Are you an extrovert?
No, I'm a serious introvert. I am a very big introvert. I have a really hard time in large groups, to be quite honest with you.
Yeah, awesome. Now, what about habits, right? Is there any habits you've developed that's helped you get to where you are today?
Um, That's a good question. I think for me, the habits are just making sure that I'm continuously connecting and checking in with people, making sure that the conversation is about them. I think that's super important because that's a good way to understand people, and then compassion. That's one of the things I never really deeply understood until the last couple of years, and having compassion for people and understanding that everybody has a story. It just helps you get through making sure that you're well connected with people.
Hmm. Okay, so you said compassion. You said it's something you didn't really understand within the past few years. You said,
Yes, unfortunately.
yeah. Why do you think that? What's the story there?
um, I think it's really interesting. So my parents were real, compassionate people. They did Rotary, they did volunteer work, and I never understood why they did it. And then over the past couple years, it just started all clicking and helping me understand that the reason they did that was for compassion. And now that I know that it's important to be compassionate to everybody, I just feel like that's the most important thing right now.
Hmm. Awesome. What about? Are you a pretty big reader?
Yes, I actually have a huge pile of books
Mhm.
right next to me.
Yeah. What type of books are you reading?
Um, let's see. So I'm reading a book that has nothing to, well, it's for work, finance for non-financial managers right now.
Oh, that sounds so
So
exciting.
yeah, it's the most riveting thing I'm reading at this point in time. But
Mhm.
to be honest with you, if one day I do want to open a program for addicts in recovery, I do need to understand this and
Mhm.
know how to balance the books. Although at the end of the day, I can hand everything over to an accountant, it's important for anybody who's opening their own business to understand the basics and how you balance a balance sheet.
Yeah, yeah. And what's the one book? Has there been any one book that's really had a profound impact on your life?
That's a good question. Hold on one second. Here's the book that I was talking about earlier. So this book here,
Mm-hmm.
Chasing the Screen.
Mm-hmm.
So this was the book that really helped me understood addicts. And what it helped me understand is that they're just looking for connection.
Mm-hmm.
Um, that book shook me to the core. I wish I had read that. I literally just read that book 6 months ago. Um, I wish I read that book years ago. I wish I had that book when my mom was dealing with her addiction,
Mm-hmm.
um, because it really helped me understand how we can't shame them, we can't shun them, we can't push them aside, we can't just get rid of them. We have to help them, and it gives you so many different examples about the importance of community and connection and connecting with the addict.
Mm-hmm. Awesome. So what's the biggest lesson you would say you took away from that book?
Um, I think the biggest lesson is to not not say they have to hit rock bottom. Rock bottom just doesn't exist, and rock bottom looks different for every single person. And the biggest thing that people say is, well, they have to hit rock bottom and then we can help them. I really believe that there's so many different levels in which you can help an addict,
Mhm,
regardless of whether or not they've hit rock bottom.
mhm,
And that's what really helped me understand is it doesn't matter when, how, where, just help them, connect with them. Even if they don't want it, just let them know that you're there.
mhm. Okay, so you said an interesting thing. You said there are some individuals who say they have to hit rock bottom. What does that mean? Like they don't believe they can get help until they hit rock bottom? What?
Yes, and I think a lot of people use that as kind of an excuse to say I can't help them until they've hit rock bottom, and
Mhm,
it's their way of just pushing off that moment. And unfortunately, everybody's rock bottom looks completely different, and I don't know if there is a rock bottom for some people. So I think that's kind of people's excuse to just push people off, to not have to help them until they want to help them.
mhm. Awesome. Now, do you have any exciting projects coming up here?
Um, so once we are free to roam the world again and get outdoors in Massachusetts, is connecting back with Yoga for Families of Addiction. We had put together a really fabulous board, and the board was made of lawyers, financial planners, volunteer experts, and what they've done is gotten us to a point of really working with recovery centers. So going into recovery centers and offering classes for yoga for families of addiction. And literally right before COVID happened, we had all of our dates planned out. We had all of our events planned, and COVID happened, and it's been put on pause. So my hope is once we're open, we can resume that, because I really think it's going to take the world by storm. And I think the hardest thing about his addiction is that we forget about the family members. The family members go through a lot when a loved one is in recovery, and unfortunately sometimes it actually can lead to addiction for the family members if they aren't able to cope with what's going on. So we want to kind of break that cycle, and offering yoga to family members, we're hoping to help them heal.
Hmm. Awesome, love that. Well, Alexis, seems like we're running short on time here, but if someone wanted to connect with you further, what's the best way for them to reach out?
Yeah, so you can find me on Instagram, so AN Crawford STT. You could also find me on my website, peaceloveayurveda.com. And you can also find me on Facebook, Alexis Crawford. Those are the best ways to get a hold of me.
Awesome, love it, love it. Well, thanks again, Alexis. And guys, the links you just shared here today, they'll be posted either above or below this video, so you can just click on them and be connected right to Alexis. Perfect, Alexis. Well, do you have any final thoughts before we end here?
Um, I think it's important that everybody finds compassion for people right now, especially with what everybody's going with. Even if someone is really close to you in the supermarket line and you're upset with that, just find the compassion. They might not have thought about it. They might be thinking about something else that got them close to you. Just find compassion with people. That's super important right now.
Love it. Thank you. Well, in that case, thanks again, and we will be in touch.
Awesome. Thank you so much for your time.
You're welcome.
Have a great day.
You do the same.
Thank you. Bye.
Awesome. Bye.